Sue, I'm excited for this podcast. Really want to kind of dig into CRM and front office technology. I hear there's a rumor out there that your nickname is the Jedi of CRM. So I'm looking forward to digging into this. Can you explain, give a little bit of background about what you do and who you work for?
Yes. So I work for Elite Consulting Partners, and I've been working with them for about 3 months now, though the consulting experience that I have is I'm over a decade now. I've been working with CRMs and automation and essentially helping firms understand their bottlenecks, identify their bottlenecks, and help them automate and improve tech first, right? And as we all know, like fintech has been really immersing themselves in, advancing in technology and improving their processes and systems, and even the M&A market, right? Like it's a huge add to your, valuation when you have the right systems and processes in place. It could be 10x, right? If you can identify that. It could be up to 10x, right? If you have everything else.
Or you'd have a negative effect, right? If you had lack of systems or poor processes in place, right?
Correct. Or if there are too many, dependencies or key people risk, like this kind of mitigates all of that, and is a huge value add to any firm looking to exit or even grow, over the next 5 to 10 years.
So what are some of the common problems that clients come to you in regards to their CRM? Where are people getting sideways?
I often see with financial advisors a couple of common problems. One is inconsistency in data integrity, right? So they don't have standardized processes in place to really have clean data. So as the old saying goes, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you're not making an effort to update your system and keep it relevant, then it becomes not credible. So that starts this adverse cycle of, okay, this system is not credible. We're not going to leverage it for our client information. We're going to go right to the custodial data, and hence begins the cycle of the platforms becomes obsolete.
You don't trust the data, so then you don't trust the system and you don't get the leverage out of it.
Exactly right. Right. So it all starts with data. That's the foundation. I have this pyramid that I build, like when I'm telling clients what's the most important baseline to any platform. And that's the data, right? Your foundation starts with the data. And only when you have the right and relevant data can you optimize and automate and integrate, right? So the foundation has to be relevant and important. And a lot of people take that for granted. A lot of financial advisors take that for granted. The second problem that I see common is oftentimes when firms are small or are growing, trying to scale, is they'll attempt to solve a problem with a platform. And over time, as they scale, what happens is they now have a tech stack that's not integrated, completely decentralized, and they're often inputting the same piece of data into multiple platforms, right? So now you're hiring just to input information over and over again with multiple platforms, and it's just not a holistic overview of your clients. So if you're looking for their performance data, you're going to, your performance platforms. You're looking for client relationship, their activity, your task, your projects. You're going into the CRM, and so on and so forth. So I think that makes the processes even more inefficient. And that's where we come in and say, well, let's take a step back. Really see where your data begins, where it's incepted, and over time, how we can automate the centralization of your platforms, right? So we take the silo, like we take the ecosystem approach to the siloed platforms.
So best of breed approach with that CRM being at the heart of it.
100%. 100%. And if you have a CRM and like Salesforce has natively integrations with a lot of platforms that financial advisors use. So with a little effort, you can integrate with your custodian, you can integrate with your performance platform, you can integrate with your alls platform, and really, like I said, have that holistic view of your clients.
And that's where that advisor would live. They don't have to go into these various systems. They're not going into the back office accounting system and try to figure out what the performance is. They get that dashboard of that client right there in the CRM.
That's exactly right. Like what happens is oftentimes we underestimate the amount of time it's taking us to do a task. Like, all right, it's 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there. It takes me 30 seconds to log into this platform, grab this report. If you add that all up, you're spending hours, during the course of a week, in just gathering information that would be so much more relevant if it produced from one system. And that's where the ecosystem or the concept of relevant data, having an integrated platform really comes in handy.
So this is death by 1,000 keystrokes.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's death by 1,000 keystrokes.
They don't probably realize it because it is probably 3 minutes here, 4 minutes there. And then at the end of the day, like they're not as productive as they can be.
I have a story to add to this. I was really trying to get this prospect, huge enterprise firm. They did not have a CRM. And I'm trying to make a case for them to take Salesforce. I mean, they have the budget for it. It was just like a no-brainer. And the person I was working with, or one of the executive sponsors, came back to me and said, well, it's working. We can gather it from here, take it here. And I'm like, let's take a step back. Who's doing this? Who's doing the gathering of information? And how long would you say on average it's taking this person to do so?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's this resource we have, director level, spends 5 hours a week. And I'm like, honestly, here's what I'm going to say to you. If you take an hourly cost for this single resource over the course of the year, you will have spent more money on this person doing this job instead of investing in a CRM that can automate the process or give you that holistic view of a client. No brainer.
I mean, these aren't cheap resources we're talking about either. We're talking about the client facing,
right? Exactly right. Yeah.
And then you get into the whole thing about the lack of, there's a talent constraint out there, right? That you have these advisors are getting up there in age. It doesn't seem to be the industry's replenishing the workforce that these are some of your most expensive people, that they're not making them as productive as possible.
100%. 100%. Like, everybody needs the right tools and techniques to do any task, right? Like even generally in life, right? Like if you're skiing with incorrect, not tools, right? Like, you can get
bad equipment or, something from the 90s or
exactly. Right. Then it just doesn't work out. So, I think the right tools and techniques and processes, systems, right, as we say, like are vital and often taken as like, it's working, let's not worry about it. And then you'll end up spending a lot more than if you just invested proactively instead of reactively over the course of time.
Let's talk about the data management. I've heard that with CRMs that the data within a CRM decays at about 3% a month. I don't know if you have any stats on that. Obviously, I think too that CRMs and Salesforce in particular can be really flexible, but on the flip side, I think sometimes that flexibility can hinder like data governance or if the setup isn't right. So how can firms nail the data component of it and make sure that they have good data governance and they have good inputs?
So the way I work with clients, I solve it in two ways, right? Ultimately, it all comes down to processes. Oftentimes, the processes that you may have as a firm internally are systematically created over time to automate them, right? Like if you have, if you are onboarding a client and you're like, these are the 10 steps we need to do to onboard this client effectively and accurately without missing any items, jot those 10 items down. We could create a system over time for you not to have any gaps in that process, right? That's the systemization of internal processes. And that's hugely important. So it all begins with create a process that people follow, jot those things down, and then we can systemize it for you using a CRM. And that's what, I have done with a lot of our clients, right? As long as you understand what's needed to get the work done, we can improve on that process. The second thing, this is really important to me, is understanding where the data begins and where it's supposed to end. What's the output that you're needing from that data ultimately, right? So if you're onboarding a client, let's stay on that process. If you're onboarding a client and you get their KYC information, their birthday, their social security information, and you input that on the custodial application. Once the custodian has the accounts open, a lot of times financial advisors will forget about the CRM and not update it if there is an address update or if there's net worth update, the tiers stay, and it becomes obsolete. What we can do at that point, based on that data flow, is like, well, let's integrate it with your custodial, get a batch update on a daily, weekly, monthly level. So your CRM data is as relevant as your custodial data. And that's the kind of processes we do, like create standardization internally so we can systemize it. And then through integration, let's keep the data in your CRM relevant over time. Those are the two steps that we have taken with clients, and it's worked out really well for them.
So you started, instead of updating the custodian, you update the CRM. The CRM updates the custodial system.
Yes, and it could be bi-directional, right? If there is a requirement that, and oftentimes there is a requirement, right? If there's an address change, the custodian information needs to be updated. So fine, if you want to do it in one place and that happens to be your preference is the custodial, fine, we'll do a batch update from the custodian and get the CRM up to date for you. So that's that one point of update that then flows over all your other systems. And that's where that ecosystem comes in handy.
And the major custodians are all CRM integration tight and friendly, right?
Yes. So, I've worked with Pershing, I've worked with Schwab, I've worked with Fidelity. A lot of them happen to be technically advanced. Some are lagging, but still getting there. So, listen, I was reading a report recently from HBR, and it said in the past decade, the only way to grow a firm was through human resources. And essentially, it said that's no longer the case, implying that the investment in technology and systems are the way to go. Like now firms can grow without having human resources, but having the right systems and processes in place to grow exponentially.
Yeah, I think you've seen that, especially with family offices. They've been historically anyways, throwing human capital at it versus technology at problems and then try to solve it via bodies. There's a couple issues with that. Obviously technology helps you scale and with advisors and multifamily offices, they're looking to grow, but single family offices are also looking to do more with less. The other thing is, I think that, what we see pretty consistently, if you have them ranked their top 3 problems, maybe technology is 3, but number 1 or number 2 is human capital retention and attraction, right? That they struggle to retain staff, they struggle to attract talent.
Yeah.
If you're making them type in the same data in the 4 different systems, and especially the next gen, that they don't want to sign up for that project. They want work that's a little bit more meaningful.
Plus, like, if you think about it, right, there's an overhead cost to human resource, right? It's not like even if you're lucky enough to find the right resources, there are a bunch of challenges or opportunities that come along with it, right? Over time, that person would want to grow and do something beyond, right? That's the overhead is where system and processes tend to be consistent and can be improved at way less cost, right? And the other problem with that is there's a key person risk. That person could leave. Like you could train them on everything that's working well for you. And 3 years, 5 years down the road, they're like, oh, well, I got a better opportunity, and rightfully so. So to really mitigate all that, I think systems and processes are a better bet for any growing firm.
Now you had a chance to work on a new account setup project with Risk Clarity. Can you just tell me a little bit about that project? What was the before like? Like how long was that taking? What was like the no-go rate? And what was the after effect of once the process was fully automated?
So here's what I'm going to say. I love Risk Clarity. Shout out to them. They're awesome. So I worked with Risk Clarity years back, and the project, I'll kind of describe the prior state and then, the post-implementation state. The prior state was, the operation department was essentially copy pasting KYC information pertaining to the account holder into the custodial application. So copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, each single line. They were then creating a DocuSign envelope with all the relevant account types, right? To send to the client to sign. Now, remember, for each of the application that the department was inputting the information on, they were then taking the time to mark where the client had to sign to make it easier. So this was, depending on how many accounts this client was migrating over to this custodian, could take anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes. And that's without interruption, right? So Risk Clarity and I back then, we worked together to kind of really define the process as it was and what would be the ideal state to be in. So we integrated CRM. We had Salesforce back then, FSC, integrated to their platform, their provider platform. It was pulling the KYC information pertaining to the account holder. So no copy pasting for 15, 20 minutes per application. It was then understanding the account applications that needed to be inputted, was marking those applications where the signatures were needed, creating and through DocuSign integration, creating an envelope to be sent out to the client. So the overall state from, min 15 to 45 without interruption went from 3 to 10. I mean, that was per client.
3 to 10
minutes.
Yeah. And then how long was the number of days that it took, to get the account set up at the custodian? Like, what was it before and then what was it after?
So you'll have to give me some grace on this. I don't remember the exact amount of days, but I would say it went like, just because the process was so efficient, we were not like missing. There wasn't, because of the KYC and all the requirement, we had all the information we needed. We made those field required in the CRM as we were getting this information from the client. So that reduced that NIGO. And so I would say the average days went down from 45 to 25 days, if I understand that, if I remember that correctly.
Almost half.
Almost half.
Half. And then, the advisor can't bill on those accounts until they're funded, right? So there's
that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line, right? Like there's some processes that really directly impact your bottom line, and this is one of them, right? The quicker you get this account open, the quicker you start billing your clients, the quicker you get the revenue in-house.
Yeah, and these clients aren't coming with it's not just a simple brokerage or IRA.
No.
typically an ultra high net worth client is coming with a handful of clients or I should say accounts and of various different types and tax statuses and domicile. And it's a fairly complex problem that you can apply, workflow and predefined logic to, right?
That's exactly right. And I'm smiling not because this problem is hilarious. I'm smiling because I'm so passionate about just the entire elevation of efficiency in some of these processes. It gets me excited. But yeah, I mean, absolutely.
What are the when you're talking about data in the pyramid on CRM? What are the 7 key categories when you evaluate a CRM?
Yeah, so the 7 categories that I usually look at is, and I'll actually point those out. I came up with 10, but I'm going to minimize it to 7. I think the most important thing is adaptability. If you're investing in a platform and the user interface is not friendly enough, it's not user friendly, it takes harder for the end users to want to use it, right? If it's intuitive enough, then it's easier for them to start using it. Over time, they create those, habits, and it's easier adoption than something like, Microsoft Dynamics. Just saying. Ability to integrate, right? I think that's super relevant, especially in today's landscape, right? Whereby if you have, a huge tech stack and they're all siloed, the ability to integrate with other platforms will come in handy to create that ecosystem. Security, obviously the platform has to be secure, especially when you're storing clients' social security number, their account numbers. Like there's a lot that goes in there. And we want to make sure that it's encrypted and has 2-factor authentication and all that stuff to make it harder for anyone to hack. Automation. I see a lot of financial advisors taking the short-sighted route sometimes, and I'm calling it short-sighted, relatively speaking, in the sense that, hey, this platform is less expensive. I'm just going to go this route. Redtail, Wealthbox, right? So I sometimes think like if you are able to take the long-term vision and invest slightly more in a CRM like Salesforce Sales Cloud, where we could then create a bunch of custom objects for you, customize it to the sense, and it comes with such flexibility in automation that you could get a lot more with a little bit more investment. So the ROI is exponentially increased by a little bit more investment, right? And that's where we get the cost in. So it's very relative. I don't think you can look at it in a vacuum, like, okay, this is the cost, this is, based on the gratification that comes from it. Future investment of the platform. Salesforce has, right, huge
R&D, right. And a huge job network and connections, right.
Exactly. So I think that helps them build, and they're one of the CRMs that is invested in AI, as an example, right? And mobile access is important to me, especially when, you're on a golf course and you're meeting, a new prospect or a lead, and you're like, wait, let me put it on my phone, open up your app, input the lead right there, and your system is updated. And, the client service team can take it from there. The marketing automation can take it from there as soon as the lead is generated in your CRM app, as an example.
Talk to me about AI. How is AI impacting the front office and CRM, and how is that capability being integrated within a CRM?
So with Salesforce, I'll take a step back, right? So let me just say there are 2 different kinds of AIs. One is where you're building all the prompts. The other is natural language prompts, right? You could actually speak with just like ChatGPT. You could actually ask questions and they're on predefined prompts that are coming back. It's actually analyzing, World Wide Web and giving you the answer. So let's do the prompt builder first with Salesforce. There are things like chatbots or, virtual assistants that you could create and there are self-service capabilities that are built in within them. So one of my clients, what we had done for them is they created an experience site using Salesforce and created a chatbot. So once a user has a question, like I can't log in, I have a problem logging in to my site, as an example, like client portal. We can, based on that prompt and certain keywords, we'll say, hey, have you tried this? Which is knowledge base, like you leverage the knowledge base, and the client can click on it as an example, do some of simple steps. It doesn't work out, then you target them to a live agent, which is tier 2. Pretty cool. It mitigates some of the tier 1 level resource allocation. It makes it more efficient as a process. You could also do predictive analysis and forecasting. Salesforce has this thing called lead score, which over time, kind of toning down the noise that comes in with a prospect or a lead, you kind of really create a lead score on the probability of them being your client, right?
Yeah.
Again, kind of build it out. Little bit of configuration is needed, and a little bit of effort is needed, but then you have that predictive analysis, over the course of 5 to 10 years. So, and then there is Agent Force, which is, the layer of ChatGPT. You could, with the CRM and all the data within the CRM, it combines the two and gives you an output based on the question. So I could say, hey, let's call Joe Schmo as my client. Summarize all the activities and what are the action items that I need to discuss with this client for my meeting that's happening 20 minutes from now. So then you can create that content. It summarizes the content. You have your bullet. You can, say, elaborate on this, condense this. And you have that tier sheet when you're meeting that client.
Create that narrative, summarizing a bunch of information.
Exactly. Which is the value, right? Your value prop to your client at the end of the day.
I love that. So there's been a lot of turmoil in the markets lately for sure. How can advisors better communicate with their clients, leveraging CRM and leveraging some of these capabilities, and try to leverage communication preferences, for example?
I love that question. And I will tell you a story that I did with our RIA years back. It was such a cool use case. And back then, markets were volatile as they are at the moment. And what was happening was there was an impact on mortgages. They were going up. So within the CRM, they had all investment properties pertaining to all their clients. We ran a report every day. It was subscribed to the management team. And we said, hey, this client has, too high a mortgage rate. Let's request them to refi, right? Let's send an outreach to these group of clients where they have a potential of exponential savings. And that's where, the financial advisors can become really sticky because the approach isn't reactive, that they're reaching out to you. Hey, by the way, I read this in, Wall Street Journal that XYZ, like maybe I should be refinancing. What do you guys think? No, you actually reach out. Right.
No, we've analyzed your portfolio. It's gone down 200 basis points and you would save X. And you're proactively doing this across, potentially hundreds of clients.
So to the performance reporting aspect of it, I have integrated, systems like Attapar as an example, which is a performance reporting tool with the CRM. And then based on that data that's coming into the CRM, you could create notifications to the client service team, which is a more personalized approach. Like, hey, by the way, I see that this has happened to your portfolio. These are the steps we're taking to mitigate any further risk, right? And again, that's where the financial advisors become more credible and sticky over time because that's a proactive approach versus reactive approach.
Right. And then you could even take it further, right? And track the communication preferences. Maybe this person wants the summary bullet notes. This person likes to dive into the details. This person likes a call. And then be able to really kind of tailor that customized, client experience at scale, right?
Yeah, 100%. Curate that approach and store and track how this person has a preference of being called or reached out to. We did a client, we did a survey years back when we had done a client portal for some of our clients, right? So what we found was a lot of the younger generation had a preference of using the app or logging into a portal and just updating information based on what they saw was happening in the market. Whereas a lot of the demographically older generation preferred a phone call, not even an email, not a text, but actually a phone call. And that information was then stored because then, again, it raises that satisfaction level with the client.
Yeah, I think it's a great example how the CRM can really be leveraged to enhance the customer experience. Like, you need personalization at scale, right? It's important to personalize that experience versus just a blanket, generic experience for all your clients, because they're all different. They have different, like generational differences, communication differences.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Let's just talk about CRM tech trends. I normally ask people to kind of pontificate on just kind of broader tech trends, but let's keep it focused to the kind of CRM universe there. What tech trends are you seeing that are going to benefit advisors?
I mean, AI is a big one. And I think that's here to stay. I think it's going to compoundly get better over the next 5 to 10 years to the point where I think we're going to be able to automate just through speaking to some of these CRMs, right? The way I see, and this is my vision, right? In the next 5 years is you can use your mic and say, hey, by the way, create this lead for me, send this email out for me, create an activity summary for me. I think to the point where it could even say, create this report for me based on where this client is engaged, what is in their portfolio. How do I create a strategy that's really relevant to them based on their time horizon, their, risk tolerance, So I think that financial services industry has a really lot of benefit ahead of them through AI. And the client.
AI, right? But it's true. It's evolving so quickly. I mean, to your point, that the natural language, like to have a conversation with your data, you don't necessarily need to know how to use a business intelligence tool. You can just, what you want, and you just ask it, and you're able to kind of. It's a different user experience that AI is now able to provide. The ability to summarize vast amounts of information from disparate systems. And then I think you're seeing a agentic AI come on where you can have it independently run tasks.
Yes.
That it's going to be the next kind of big wave of automation that advisors are going to be able to take advantage of. I think the important thing to note is like, what is AI's here today? Like, these capabilities are today, not like what should I be doing about my future roadmap? Like, the advisors should have a strategy and a policy about how they're leveraging that capability, because there's a lot of capabilities that are just native to some of these platforms today that they can take advantage of.
I recently read this book called Co-Intelligence, and I find that an integrated approach is amazing, right? Like, there is benefits to human cognition, like we just do a lot of things better. And there are certain benefits to just validating and reinforcing some of the data from everything that's out there. Now, of course, keeping in mind all the hallucinations that could be present, right? So there's risk, but as long as you're aware and integrating your own intelligence to what the artificial intelligence is generating, I think that's a powerful combination.
Yeah, I don't think decision making's there for AI yet. It's going to be a while. Like, I think that hallucination rate's still around 3% or something, which is still too high.
It's low, yeah.
But the ability to, there's so much going on, especially lately, but unfortunately or fortunately, I think that's the pace of change is here to stay, and that to be able
I
to
think
kind of
so.
summarize everything that happened with a client very quickly to be like, oh yeah, that's right, they did have a big cash infusion or whatever it may be. It's taking the 10x advisor, right? It's not replacing the advisor. It's the advisor being able to leverage that to be able to better serve their clients. But I like to end these podcasts on a personal note with three questions. That's three questions that have nothing to do with CRM. You're in the New York City area. What's your favorite? What's your favorite thing about New York City? What's your favorite spot?
So I love going to museums. I would say my favorite spot is probably Central Park. I love walking around it.
What's your favorite museum? I'm going next weekend, so where should I go?
Natural History Museum. I know it's cliche, but it's just cool. Or Metropolitan is awesome. It's huge. So yeah, I think all of them are amazing. They're just, a walk in the past is awesome.
Yeah, my daughter goes to Florida, and we're gonna go down there, so she loves it. What's a hobby or skill that you have that people might not know about?
Oh God. I don't know if I want them to know, but I love poetry. I love writing it. I love reading it. So yes.
Got a poet here. Okay.
Yes. How does that combine with CRMs? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's the other side of the brain, I guess. And then you get a show you're streaming that you like.
I've been watching Severance. Love it. Haven't finished it, so that's really where I'm at.
Okay, yeah, it's I haven't gotten. I started it, and then I was like, wow, this is.
Wait, are you watching the second season or the first one?
I haven't got to the second season.
Yeah,
I gotta get back.
Awesome.
I started it and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, it's different. And then I started, I watched and I finished up, Slow Horses.
I love that show too.
Yeah, I was bummed that I need more content, please. That's probably my favorite these days. I thought the writing on that was fantastic and
good choice. Yeah,
it doesn't like a good spy,
Oh my God. And is it Gary Oldman? I mean, he's just brilliant. He's brilliant.
He's awesome. He lets himself go in that show. I mean, I don't think it's particularly good for his health, but yeah, he's awesome.
He's awesome. He's the best actor.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this has been great. I really appreciate you being on the show and thank you for your insights.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.